Hi, it's Hans at ahappierman.com. Today's topic is traveling tips for single men. I'm just heading home from a fairly long trip out in the western part of the United States. I left last Wednesday and today is Thursday, so I'm on the 8th day. It's going to take me like a couple of days to get home from where I'm at. I've been driving a lot all morning here and this afternoon, so I think I'm going to keep going for a few more hours anyway, see how I feel. So the traveling tips, well, the biggest tip if you're going to drive by a vehicle is to have a really good vehicle that's comfortable for driving. So like I've talked about before, I have this F-150 Ford truck. It's a half-ton pickup truck. It's very comfortable. I can drive a long time in it. It's a very comfortable chair. It's got a lot of power. It's nice air conditioner and all the conveniences you need. I was toying with the idea of renting a car for this trip, and the more I thought about it, I thought, well, why don't I just make sure my truck is in good shape and I'll take that. So I got new tires and brakes and had to get a few other repairs done on it. Because I need to do that anyway, right? For normal life. So you want to have a very comfortable ride if you're going a long way. If you're flying or not going that far, well, then it doesn't matter so much what the ride is. But if you're going a long way, the ride will be the most important part of the trip. If you're going to drive a long way each day, even what I was doing, there's a lot of looking and seeing. So there's a lot of driving around. Even when I was where I was at, there was a lot of driving. So you got to keep that in mind. You're going to be driving a lot. So when you're out and about, if you ever take a big trip, you'll notice that mostly people kind of know that and have nice, comfortable, big vehicles. A lot of pickups, a lot of like suburban types, size vehicles, big sedans, big SUV type vehicles. That's what you really need. Because where I went out into the mountains, into the high desert, so there's a lot of up and down driving, a lot of going up steep grades and going down steep grades and twists and turns and very hairy driving, scary. You want to be very comfortable behind the wheel when you're doing that. You don't want to be tired, you don't want to be sore, you don't want to be cramped. You want a big, comfortable vehicle, and that will make your whole trip much more delightful. When I took some trips as a kid and with my parents, and we never really had that great of a vehicle. In fact, a couple times we had vehicle breakdowns, and to tell the truth, that was so unpleasant, breaking down 1,000 miles from your home, that it just made me want to make sure I have a very good vehicle that isn't going to break down when I'm 1,000 miles from home. It's bad enough breaking down at home, right? Let alone 1,000 miles from your home. You want it to not do that. You want to get it, the vehicle should be really good. And this vehicle isn't really new. I've had it for quite some time. It has a ton of miles, but it's still, because it's big and strong and powerful, it really hasn't aged that much. I mean, it is aged. The ride hasn't aged. A little bit of the body has aged. The comfort inside has not aged at all. It's still just as comfortable as ever. So you want to You want to be comfortable in your drive, because sometimes you might want to drive a long time. This was like a driving trip to me. I covered many states, stopped in many places, put on quite a few thousand. I don't even know how many miles. You know, it'll probably be close to 3,000 miles by the time I'm done. So that's a lot of driving. A lot of driving. Usually you figure you would drive maybe 1,000 miles a month. I'm doing 3,000 in a week, right? I feel like a truck driver. But that's the first tip. And then the second tip is when you're going, get your vehicle set up for the trip, rather than how you have it set up at home. Because at home you probably have it all set up nicely for your home, going to work, doing your chores, doing your normal around the home. It's going to have stuff in it that makes sense for home. Well, that stuff may or may not make sense for a trip. You want to maybe spend some time before the trip removing the home stuff that won't be needed, to have more space for your traveling stuff. The other tip would be, make sure you understand everything about your vehicle. You know, how when you should go to lower gears when you're going up and down hills, how to change the spare tire, you know, where anything like that is located and how to do it. When you're prepping for your trip, probably the best thing is to get an oil change right before the trip, so you're kind of set that way. Probably should get it washed. Make sure it's nice and clean when you start, because it's probably going to get dirty as heck go over the trip. A lot of bugs on the road, and you might have to drive through dirt. Right now, the front of my vehicle is covered in bugs, and the bottom is covered in dirt. It's filthy. But I'll wash it when I get home in a day or two. Probably vacuum it, have it nice and clean and nice when you start, and then gassed up, of course. Start with a full tank of gas. So that's, you know, getting the vehicle ready. Getting yourself ready. Well, you want to do enough research on the weather where you're going, so you bring the right clothes. Probably no matter where you're going, even if it's dead heat of the summer, you probably need a light jacket at least. I like to go on hikes, so I always have to have my hiking boots and wool socks. Now, I went on some major hikes on this trip, and I think four major hikes, and I had like a lot of wool hiking socks, but I only used 2. I used my 2 best ones, used them 2 each. So, you know, usually you can probably, you know, you don't have to, because I only have didn't want to bring a huge suitcase. I wanted a modest size, but you know, do with some planning. You know, what is your typical travel routine going to be? And then what is your typical evening when you get to where you're going? And then once you get to the spot, what do you think you're going to be doing? And then you would have those types of clothes. Like for me, I've got reading glasses, so I always have to have a shirt like this with a pocket to put them in. So I don't really wear just the normal t-shirts that much anymore, even though I would prefer to wear a nice v-neck t-shirt, but they don't normally have pockets, so I'm kind of stuck wearing this. And actually this is a very good looking shirt and it works out perfectly for traveling. It's very cool, comfortable, it looks decent on me. Then you don't really need that many clothes. Like I had gone 10 days. I have a pair of shorts that work very good for for traveling, for driving, and that also work very good for hiking. They're like perfect for both. And then I had another pair of very nice shorts that I would wear in the evening when I go out for dinner and out on the town. And then I had one more pair of shorts, and those weren't very good at all. I really only used the two, even though I was gone that many days. And I had to do laundry one time. You probably can do laundry partway through to minimize how much you need. You're probably going to want a few nice shirts for going out for dinner or going out for drinks. If it's the summer, it's probably going to be shorts mostly. Now I have a pair of jeans because I was thinking there might be an occasion, it might be cold in one spot, or I might do something that involves, that'd be better for jeans. But I don't really wear jeans that much in the summer. Probably wouldn't have needed them. I like to have some lounge shorts, around the hotel in the morning and the evening. Loose t-shirt, loose shorts. For shoes, well, I just bought my hiking boots, 2 pairs of tennies, and a pair of sandals. Now I probably could have gotten by with 1 pair of tennis shoes that were kind of nice enough to go out in, but I had 2. Then you need socks to go with that, and boxer shorts, and a few other shirts. It's really all you need. You don't need tons of clothes. You're traveling. You don't necessarily need to dress up so much unless you're going to travel to do something really fancy. Yeah, then I always have my toiletry bag always stocked and ready to go, so I can just grab it and go. And so it's very easy for me to get packed. Half hour or less, really, maybe less. I did make a tentative plan for this trip. You would want to have tentative plans, so you're not like just going out your front door when you leave and not knowing whether you're going to go left or right. You got to have a direction to go. So I knew where I kind of wanted to go first, second, and then on this trip I did a lot of seat of the pants planning the night for the next day to kind of knew in general, and then I would go on my energy level and how far I'd gotten, and it worked out fairly well. This is a little different than some of my other trips where I had booked the hotels before. This one I didn't book till I got to the city where I was at, and I have the hotels.com app on my phone, and that works out really good because you can just drive to the city you want to stay in and then look on that app, and it'll tell you, which hotels are, how much they are, where they are on the map. You can drive around and see if it's in a seedy area or if it's a seedy hotel. The first night I got to some area and I thought, wow, what a bargain on this hotel. I drove over by it, and of course it was just a total dump. It looked like a drug house, not a hotel. So I went to another hotel. Of course it's much more expensive, right? Usually on these hotels in the United States, you get what you pay for. You probably got to spend a little bit more to have a little nicer room that isn't in a bad area, and that the hotel doesn't look like it's falling apart. And then usually if it's a little pricier, they're going to have more comfortable beds. The cheapest hotel I stayed in on this trip, the bed was just terrible. Very hard, uncomfortable. I didn't sleep. I was up all night basically. And when you're traveling, you certainly don't want to be up at night. You want to get your rest, so you have plenty of energy for fun. For activities, well, that's up to you, right? On this trip, I did a lot of driving from place to place but I always was doing something along the way. I had done enough planning that I knew what was along the way that I could see and do, and not just drive for 12 hours. I might drive for, it might take 12 hours, like a 6 a.m. to 6 a.m., but I wouldn't be driving that far because I would have stopped once or twice to do something along the way. See a museum, go for a hike, go for a nice lunch, that kind of thing. You want that itinerary. I don't necessarily need it totally. I don't like it totally planned. I just like to know what a lot of the options are. So I'll have either the stuff saved in my phone, or I'll have some books or some guidebooks or some notes in my planner book, and so I kind of know what I could do, and what I feel like doing, and that type of thing. And with the phones nowadays, it's pretty easy to find everything, and it'll guide you right there. It isn't like the old days where trying to get somewhere was a real battle. No, it isn't like that at all. It's very, very modern technology makes traveling quite easy in that way. For eating and drinking, I try not to drink so much water and coffee that I'm always having to go to the bathroom when I'm driving. I don't drink as much water and coffee as I'm at home. I drink quite a bit less, so I can go a little bit farther in the car, because you never know if you can find a bathroom easy enough. And then that gets to the eating. You want to eat in a manner that doesn't go through you, so you're always racing to find a toilet to sit down on. So if you have that problem, that makes traveling a real difficult. You might want to, if the food you're eating now agrees with you, so you don't have to go to the bathroom, have to get there fast all the time, you might want to stick with something like that on your travels, because that can be really unpleasant. That didn't happen to me this whole trip. I've been fine. And I like to intermittent fast somewhat too, so I don't usually eat much for breakfast. So many times in the morning I wouldn't eat anything, and just a little bit of coffee, and then just keep pushing to do something, and then eat later. Try to keep it to 2 meals a day. Sometimes I was eating, I kind of like to have a few drinks every night, a few beers when I'm traveling. And sometimes I would be so hungry and thirsty from the day's activities that I would drink a lot and eat a lot and just get super stuffed in the evening. And I don't know, I've got to figure out a way not to do that. It seems to me, if you enjoy going out in the evening for a few drinks, you might want to have your evening meal earlier in the day. But that's a little bit tough to do too, because usually when you're out doing something, you're doing something, right? So you don't want to stop for your evening meal at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is kind of what I'm suggesting, having a kind of a late lunch, early dinner that you can, your belly can calm down enough to have some drinks later. Yeah, those are some of the things I've learned on this trip. Kind of learned how much stuff. I always seem to overpack a bit, stuff my suitcase with clothing, and then a bunch of it I don't even need. So, yeah, I think I know. As soon as I get home, I'm gonna write this all down, and maybe I'll make an article out of it, so we can help help each other learn from it so we don't have to struggle so much on these trips. Yeah, I think I'm going to end that. That was the travel tips from a happier man. See you later.